Hi guys, welcome to this movement lesson. Today we're going through a whole body mobility routine. We're going to feel what's what with the body. We're going to start moving first, look for where there is need for that extra focus, that attention to increase the movement, range of movement and aid our recovery. So we're going to start off with high to low rotation. Just gently moving the arms high to low through that diagonal, turning on the toes, pivoting on the feet. That back foot comes up and just as low as is comfortable. So a little bit of knee bend. Not too much, not too fast. Like I say, starting off getting some warmth in the body first and feeling just what the body has in store for us today. Align that breathing with the movements of the body just as is comfortable. What's comfortable for you, even if that doesn't necessarily match the breathing I'm going through. We're going to change sides now. High to start, really feel that stretch and then take the arms down. Fluid and free through this movement. Pivoting on the feet, hinge at the hips, bend through the knees and get that turn. So ankles, knee, hip, through the torso, through the core and the shoulders as well. And good. From here we're going to go feet square, hands up in the air, turn and reach. A little bit of knee bend with this one as well. Down, up and around. Keeping balanced. Again, if the eyes can follow the hands around, that's fine. If not, if for balance you need to pick a fixed point on the floor, a little bit out in front of you, maybe a metre or so. Keep your eyes trained on that point. You can still turn the body, still turn the shoulders and the hips. One more from the top, back in the other direction now. I'm just getting that movement in, that heat. That lotion through the muscles, the tendons, all the connective tissue, the ligaments and joints. Knowing that we're ready to move before we go into our deeper stretches. Reaching high, out to the sides. One more. All right, good stuff. Wide stance now, feet turned out. We're going to reach to one side and sink the weight into one heel, loading up through the hip. And you can adjust the feet as we go. Maybe they can go a little bit wider than you start with. Or maybe you need to bring them a little bit closer again. Or just adjusting that position for balance and stability. So getting a nice strong stretch on that trailing leg. You can allow the foot to rotate over onto the arch. So kind of pointing the toe on that straight leg. And you're loading up, getting a bit of work into the hip, the glutes, the hamstrings, the inner thighs. Keep those knees wide. Core as well, nice and tall. A little bit extra work through the shoulders, turn those palms up. Okay, it's going to bring more of the front part of the shoulder and the biceps into a stretch, but also working them as well. Holding the weight of the arm out. Harder than it looks over time. And again, deeper and deeper into this side lunge. Get that up and over, one more. Good. If you need to, bring those feet a little bit closer now, but we're still going to keep a wide stance, maybe not as wide, and then windmill those hands as we move side to side. Nice and fluid, constant with this movement. As we rotate the body, twisting through the core, and really bring the hand across, maybe beyond the line of the toes, and building up the warmth through these repetitions. Getting really used to, really good at this movement now, shifting the body weight from side to side. The more we move, the more the body loosens up. All right, very good. Bring those feet a little bit more to the center line. Wider than a hip width, one hand is going to reach up, and we side bend. One hand reaching down as we side bend. Again, very used to this movement now, this pull and stretch right the way down through the lateral, the side fascia connects the hand all the way down to the lower leg. And in particular, the ribs, the hips, the low back. There's a muscle called the QL, quadratus lumborum, right about here. And you feel a strong stretch, especially if you've been at a desk or sitting down driving, anything like that. for any long periods of time. Most of us have some of that in our day-to-day somewhere. Really good stretch. And again, loosening up, melting that toffee. Think of that analogy, melting that toffee through the warmth and through the movement, through these repetitions. And breathe. Nice. All right, going to continue on with this side bending movement now. A little bit wider stance. Feet turn to the side, so windmills, reaching that rear hand up, lead hand is down. And can you get those legs straight as we reach down, hand to the floor, rotating the body to look up. Let's come back up. We go for 5 of these. That's the first. Now down into the second. Holding the low position just for a moment or two, reaching the arm back, and reach back up. The inner thigh and the side of the body, getting a decent stretch with this. Good. Looking up toward the ceiling. That's 3. We've got 2 more. Feel this arm that's reaching up toward the ceiling, going through that range of movement. Sideways on, now to vertical. We've got 1 more. Down. Really tilting the tailbone to get that stretch. Tailbone goes back and up to get that stretch on that lead leg. We're going to switch now. 5 on this side. Stable, get that balance first, core engaged, and down we go. Looking up and reaching up. Now the arm, as ever, can brace against the leg for balance or to push you further round. And down we go. Arm against the leg, fingertips to the floor if you can, and maybe a little bit lower. Good. Reaching up, this is 3. Coming down into the 3rd one now. So, 2 more after this one, nice and tall as we reach up. Getting some warmth in the body now. I can feel shoulders, back and core. 1 more. Down. And hold that position just for a moment. And we come back up. Excellent job. All right, stand to the side, feet together, hinge at the hips, and then let the back soften and round as we come down. Nice and tall, shoulders back, extension through the chest, opening up, then hands back down again. Coming up, uncurling, open up through the upper body, and down again. Now keeping those heels together or as close as you can. Really getting that stretch through the hamstrings. And again, tilting that tailbone back and up. Really a strong stretch. Slow as we come down and up. Good. Hands to the floor. Again, maybe you can get a little bit lower than the last time you did this. And maybe after a few repetitions, you can get lower and lower still. As always though, not forcing it, just trying to get a little bit better as it's comfortable to you. 1 more. Down. Good. And up. Open up through the shoulders and chest. We're going to take a step forward now and come down into that low position with the hands together on the inside of the knee into that groiner step position. I'm going to hold that position and move the knee out to the side. So I'm stepping forward on my right, I'm shifting my knee over to the right and holding that stable position. Good. I'm going to switch it up now. So switch feet, step forward, and again, side, I'll move that knee on the lead side, my left out to the side. This is going to give you that strong stretch. The inner thigh and the hamstring of that hip. And switching again. Step the feet back and the other one forward. And the hands are quite close, so you've got space to move those feet out and forward each time. Good. switch, step. Get a nice stable footing. Try to get that foot flat to the floor. Hopefully over time you can see that foot coming forward with more ease. Maybe you start off and you have to do it in 2 stages and then step another half step again. Switch. If you can get that foot forward, we know we're increasing that range of movement at the hip. And good. Core engaged, shoulders bracing. Just one more time on this next side. Good. Out with that knee. So articulating that knee, moving that knee, using the muscles of the hip, the glutes. So we're getting heat, we're getting movement, we're firing up, also getting that mobility as well. And dynamic flexibility. Alright, switching back to the first side. From here we're going to drop that knee on the rear side down and core engaged, drop the hip forward, looking for that strong stretch through that rear hip, the hip flexor. Reaching the arms up together and if you can, back behind you just a little bit. There you can see I like to have my toes up on the rear foot. You can have the foot flat if you prefer. Find which one provides a better stretch, which one finds you more stable and balanced. And coming back, reaching over to the side of that lead leg. So we're now bringing in more of that lateral fascia again. So you might feel the obliques on this side, the hip flexor, and even into the back. Just make sure the back is happy. Draw that navel in to connect the core, and that will keep the back in a stable position. But go with what feels right for you. If it's too strong, just edge the hips back. Okay, up we go. We're going to switch from that high kneeling position to the other side. So again, that lead foot might come forward, core engaged, sink the hips down. We don't want to arch the back, but get as deep a stretch through the hips as you can. Reaching those arms up. Now I like to hold the hands together. They can be apart if you prefer. And as you sink the hips forwards, reaching upwards and back behind the body, just as far as is comfortable. Looking up, keeping that balance, that lead foot, holding us up. And good. Over to the side of that lead leg now, both arms reaching out. Again, if you need to shift the hips back, then you can. Good. Alright, coming back to the centre, switching it. This time, we go to that high kneeling position. We're going to reach back with one hand, lift the foot, arm's length, get a good grip on the top of the foot, and then from there, as we core engage and drop the hips forward, this is going to increase the stretch on that thigh. The front thigh on the rear leg, now the focus of our stretch. We can draw this shoulder back, and if it's comfortable too, then you can start to pull the foot a little bit towards the hip, but with that forward movement of the hip, you don't need to do a lot of work with that arm to get that stretch through the front of the thigh, the quadriceps. And good. Holding that position just a moment more. And come back with the hips, switch it. Get balanced, a wide stance if you need. First thing we do, staying tall, we lift up that back foot to the hand, core engaged, and then drop the hips forwards. And draw that shoulder back, open up through the chest, and then if you can, if you need to, you can bring that foot towards your hip a little bit more. Good. Deep stretch through that thigh on the rear hip. Okay. Tall at the top, upper body nice and tall, core as ever, connected and engaged, drawing that navel in. Good. And set the hips back. Very, very good. I'm going to go now down to the kneeling position. Knees wide, feet wide, arms, elbows, wrists on the floor. Sitting the hips back and gently moving back towards that stretch. Again, as the hips sit back towards the heels, we're getting that deep stretch through the inner thigh. And from the bent knee position, from kneeling, it's a bit more intense up towards the groin and the hips. We don't have that knee to worry about from a straight leg position. Now you can move the body a little bit side to side to just focus the attention of that stretch from left to right. You might find one side is different to the other, is tighter than the other. So just go as far as is comfortable. Maybe a little bit more emphasis on that side if it's a bit tighter on one side, left or right. But easing that position, not trying to force it, particularly in this region. We want to make sure we go slow and allow the body to acclimate. The breathing is a great way to encourage that extra range of movement. 7 out of 10, 6.5 to 7.5 out of 10 with that stretch sensation is plenty. You can close the eyes and bring that focus into how your body is feeling. Good. Let the body weight come forward. Still keep the knees wide. And as we set back again, we're going to increase that stretch. So just as far as you can. Good. All right. Okay. Weight onto the elbows as we bring the knees together. And from here, we're going to go up onto the toes into that high plank position. Drop the knees down, hips low, chest up, shoulders back. And keep that core engaged. Again, navel drawing in toward the spine, just to make sure the back is happy. And a lot of people can find the lower back. This one is one that you want to go careful with and improve over time, not try and force it. Sitting the hips back and up from the knees, we're just going to reach back, stretch those hands forwards, and as we sit the hips back towards the heels, dragging the hands across the mat to get that stretch through the back, through the spine and through the shoulders. A couple of these, 2 or 3 of these, and then sit back toward the heels if you can. If not, just as far back as you're able to. Nice deep breath. I'm going to take one hand out to the side, my left, and then my right. I'm going to feel that stretch down my right shoulder, the right side of the body, keeping the hips low, my head down, and side bend into that stretch even more. Bringing my hands back to the midline, and stepping out, right first, then the left, and of course this is the left side of my body that's going to feel that stretch. Keep those hips anchored to the heels. Breathe. And again to the center and back over for a second time. Stretching down the long side of the body. Good, stretch through the shoulders and into the lower back. Step across. And reach into that stretch. Okay, back up onto the hands. Up onto the toes into that high plank, and a second time with the knees down, chest up, shoulders back, and sitting those hips down if we can towards the floor. Looking up. Alright. From here, sending those hips back. We're going to come up to a standing position. We're going to bring the hands out into a T shape, a wide stretch for the chest and shoulders. From here, bring those arms up, reaching high. We're going to draw those elbows down and back, drawing those shoulder blades towards one another, keeping the body tall. So we're not arching the back to make this stretch happen, but rather a straight line from head through to hips, reaching up with those hands. Deep breath, and down once again with those elbows. Wrists and elbows in line. If you find the wrists don't want to go, then just go as far as you can, but try to keep the forearm vertical. Up we go again. And stretch. And come down. Really looking to feel that dexterity, that control and stretch through the muscles around the shoulder blades from the back, so you can see as they come up. Tall, as high as I can, and then down. Shoulder blades towards the pockets. Again, I'm going to come with my arms out into that T shape. Deep breath to stretch through the chest. Expand the ribs. Now I'm going to bring one hand up and over behind the head and one hand up from underneath behind the back. And switch. Keeping those elbows drawn back. Rotate. Rotate the hands as we switch positions. And if you can, clear the back, clear the head. Just as far as is comfortable. If it's difficult to get past and you're moving in stages, that's fine. But again, just as far as is right for you, don't force it. The shoulder in particular, be careful with the shoulder joint. Continue those movements through. The more movement we get, the more lotion, the more lubrication of those joints. The biceps tendon, the shoulder can often be very clicky. You can feel those structures moving over one another. And so therefore it's a good one to focus your attention on. And all the time keeping that open rib cage, that open chest, opening everything at the front, using those postural muscles in the upper back. Again, you can feel this one working as well as stretching. And one more. Again, you might find one side is harder to stretch back on the other. So just focus your attention where it's needed. Good. And relax. From there, we're going to shake out the arms and we're going to finish off with the shoulder roll. So low to high, up and back. Again, this is that collarbone, shoulder blade, rib cage area getting nice and loose. And feel you're creating that movement with that shoulder roll. All right. Fantastic work, feeling really good, really loose and mobile after that one. I will see you for another workout very soon.